Evening all, ho 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 and all that. Well, it's not really Christmas yet, is it? But this is the last time I'm going to speak to you all before Christmas. But we are going to do a show over the Christmas holidays, but I'll tell you more about that as we get nearer the time. I'll let you get all stuffed out on turkey, high cholesterol desserts, and basically blow yourself out so you can't move and you've got to sit there and join me over Christmas to chew the fat rather than chewing turkey. Right. As you can see, this is episode 10 of Dirty Talk Show. I'm going to make this a bit of a ACU British Motocross special. Obviously, got Gareth hockey on at the beginning of this year, but then, quite frankly, the world turned to shit. And a lot has changed since then. And now we're going to talk about next year. So, as you can see, we've got Gareth and John Giffard on from GRT Whole Shot to talk about what it's like running a youth team and all that. So without further ado, let's get them in. There's Gareth. Let's bring Gareth up. There's Gareth. Looks like he's at school.
Cheers.
Well, it does. It looks like you're in a play, in your classroom. John has now turned his Star of David off. When he's in the green room, see that above his head there? He's got a Christmas decks up, and he did look like the chosen one. Like, didn't he? Yeah, he did. The light
definitely did. Yeah.
The light was beaming down on him. First and foremost, thanks for coming on, gents. Again, at a relatively short notice. Appreciate that. And I thought it'd be a good one to get you both on. Obviously, Gareth, we'll start with you because, as we said, you had plans going into this year. Yeah. They all went out the window along with a lot of other people's plans with COVID, but you was in a different position at the beginning of this year to what you can talk about now going next year, because unless you've been living on the moon in UK motocross, we all now know that you're going to be, running the British Motocross Championship, Adult Championship as the promoter. So congratulations first and foremost on that. Well done. So you've had a busy time of it, basically the last couple of months, haven't you? Like, revising the calendar, we were talking about it before we come on. So where are you at with it all? You've had to jiggle a few things round. It's always difficult with
I'd say we're in a comfortable place now from a racing perspective, because our problem is bringing the kids and the adults together was quite awkward because we're very passionate about youth. So from our side, Auto 65s, they need to do a British Championship. And that's probably why the calendar's a little bit mixed up in some people's heads at the moment. But, it's very much an experimental year to find out what works and what we need to do. Perhaps we're going to end up with a mini O championship or something like that. But I think we need to get into these big, if you look at the Dutch and whatever, big sort of festival weekends, things like that. I think it needs everyone's input. I could do without some of the negativity around it, being honest, but that's our sport. They want change, but they don't want change. So, like I say, it's going to be a fun season next season.
With the negativity, Gareth, just touch on that very quickly. Is it over a period of time you've learned to deal with that, or does it must, some comments must still grind your gears to choose. I don't know why I said that. It's an American terminology. Anyway, we're talking about motorbikes. So, and I've ground a few gearboxes over the years. How do you cope with that? Do you just try and spin that around and be positive and criticism and all that?
Just touching on the ACU guys, I'm trying not to react like I normally do, because if I'm passionate about it, I get quite wound up. And accept everyone's going to have points of view. Yeah. I think everyone's seen we've got a new title sponsor.
Tell us more about that, because that just popped up this evening on my feed there. So tell us who it is and what it's
obviously that's the conversation. We're looking for investment in the series, because we want to change things. We want to get it to a wider audience. And I had a conversation with Mark at Revo about the launch of the team, and he was interested in getting involved. And from that, probably over a couple of days, we've done a deal for the car side of Revo. So, I've had a little bit of negative feedback from some of the other teams, but as in the bigger teams, but they can't see the bigger picture.
Okay.
Revo Developments is a car company. It's not selling motorcycle parts. It's not selling, bike related stuff. Yes, Mark's got a team, and I think Mark's a bit like John invests quite a bit in our sport. And for us, we want sponsors from outside the sport. We can't keep taking the money, from the same pot, can we? It needs to change. And I think this year for us is going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a difficult year. I think we're on the back foot, from an RHL point of view and from an ACU point of view. Rival Series run some races last year. We ran nothing. But if you're at the bottom, you can only go up, can't you? So I think you guys have worked. Both of you guys have been involved with me, and it's quite an open conversation we can have about things. And if there's good ideas coming from people, I'll take them on board. And we'll change. So I was
quite surprised to hear you then say you're starting at the bottom. I wouldn't quite go that far with it. I suppose you've run British rounds before, but I suppose you're looking at it as like, right, okay, I am starting at the bottom because this is the first time that you've ever been in charge of the whole. But this is it now. This is it. You're the man to bring ACU's championship, to a level that we all want to see it grow and become.
It goes back to, like, from my point of view, we've sort of developed a plan based around the clubs, because it's very much like a team that John's got. From a club to run a British Championship is quite a large investment and a gamble. So I've sort of tried to work with the clubs to neutralise that, to give them a chance to not lose money. And the clubs are becoming quite engaging. But like you picked up the link, we had a Zoom meeting with all the clubs and ended up speaking with Phil Arms. And like Phil congratulated me because I've been chasing this probably since '96.
A long time. I know you've been chasing it a long time.
Yeah. And I think we've all vented our frustrations. My problem now is I'm sat at the front of it and got to make it work, haven't I? So, but it's an open book. People can come to me with ideas. I've got some mad ideas. I want to do a British Championship on a Wednesday night because I think a rider. I want to do a Saturday night because
just don't do it. Just don't do it on the same Wednesday as Rocket till sundown, will you?
Yeah.
Then we'll be all right. We won't fall out then.
Yeah. But it needs to evolve, doesn't it? It needs to change.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That and so you're looking at it as a sort of blank canvas, really. You obviously know the ground rules of it, but it's a fresh start, fresh impetus, new ideas, and that's actually what it's needed for quite a while. From your point of view, then, John, how have you found? It's obviously been difficult because you're all set up, ready to go this year, and then we've had no racing, and obviously, you're fundamentally you run a race team, but you also run a business tuning bikes and stuff, etc. So have you felt the knock-on effect of where we've been this year?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough at the start, without a shadow of a doubt. When COVID first hit and we couldn't go racing, obviously everybody put their bike in their garage and no one did anything. But as it relaxed a little bit, tracks got open, practice tracks came available for people other than just private hires. People were getting their bikes back out. They were a little bit more relaxed with the whole COVID thing, and then events started to happen. Local club races. Luckily for me, really, my local club, they were adamant they were going to run races, and they did run races. They pretty much ran their championship all the way until they could with the weather changing. But yeah, for sure, with the team, we were all set to go at round one. New team, new ideas, new riders, new goals. That slowly went downhill rapidly because the championship didn't run, then European races didn't run, World Championship didn't go ahead for the youth. We had good expectations at all those races. Obviously, it made some people change from groups. So you had riders that were racing in a 65 or an 85 auto that then decided, because the championship wasn't going ahead, we'll switch onto a bigger bike, and then you had all that change to happen, and then, of course, MX Nationals decided that they would go ahead and run the rounds that they ran. So, and your meeting as well, Jeff, that went ahead. So we attended there and gave all the riders and all the people that came on board with the team in its first year, hopefully something back. It wasn't ideal. We wanted to get the whole championship and the whole series done, obviously, but that's no fault of anybody's other than everybody wanted to put everything on as best as it possibly could, and it wasn't going to be as best as it could with the situation that we had. So with that being said, I'm really excited about the new series. Gareth's taken over the Adult British Championship, which I've been out of a little bit for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, but obviously following it and loving the new format and the new schedule. And I think it, when I was a mechanic and running a team for Yamaha for 10 years, we always wanted more rounds. We always wanted more racing. You kind of felt after like 4, 5, 6 years of doing it, you go, oh, we're doing a lot for not a lot of events. And I just, I always wanted to do more. I always wanted to go to more races. And I think now with the format, some people aren't going to like it. Some people are, especially with the current situation with budgets and money and more races, more traveling, more rounds. People are going to be a bit more, well, it was tough before, it's going to be tougher now. But I think everybody that's saying that is a first impression.
I suppose it is, yeah.
After that, it's they'll go to the first round and then want to go to the second round.
Well, let's talk about that then, Gareth. It's perfect time. Obviously, that's why we were going to get you on a couple of weeks ago, and you said no, just wait because you had the sponsorship announcement coming in and all that. So let's talk about your way of thinking. It's not just you personally. I know you've got a team around you, and you sit down and you have regular discussions about it. But just try to tell us more then about your thinking with regards of not so much the adult, they're going to get their 8 rounds and whatever, but the youth and the way you kind of tried to intertwine it with the main championship. Because we've got the MXY2 class, if they're called that, or whatever they are, MXY2. They've got more rounds. So I think they've got have they got 11?
Yeah, 11 rounds.
Compared with is it 4 for the autos? So exactly. Just tell us your thinking with how you've managed it, or what brought all that on. What is it? The cost? What?
No, our thinking, being perfectly honest, is, and John's a bit like us. We're keen to develop youth riders. I think both of us have seen the talent pool we've got, and John's got a very good team, but there is so much talent in the British youth thing, with no help from perhaps the industry or maybe the federations. So my thinking is autos is a bit like the introductory level, touching on costs. That's probably a tough start in your introduction. So what we've tried to do is sort of do 4 for them, 6 for the 65s type thing. And then build. We know when to get to 85 big wheel and they get to the 125 class, we want to be pushing those riders to do the British Championship and EMX rounds. And John and myself, because John is the Team GB mechanic, officially asked by me, we want to go to Greece. We want to go with the best riders we can go with. And we want to be trying to win the Junior World Championships. We did Italy with a good little team, but no one in that team was happy. And that's where we want to develop the riders. So once they're at 125, if we've got them doing 11 rounds or 12 rounds in 22, and we've got them going to EMX, hopefully us as a series or a federation can start to back them and help them like the European federations.
Well, I have to say, I on a personal level, I like the idea that you've done less auto races. I think, I totally agree with that. I think, it's all like, hold on, they're, what are they, like 6, 7, 8, whatever they are, not, it's just like, do they need to be doing, 8 rounds at major championships and all that pressure? Yeah. And it makes them probably a bit more special that there's less. So the kids really look forward to them and they don't get all dragged down in, like.
Yeah, I think the auto thing, being brutally honest with you, the auto thing came about through sponsorship. But for me, year one was a bit scary because, everyone's perception of the autos is they're going to bail. But when you see them and how good they are now, they are a really good class. And and it is frustration that we can't take them to every round. But honestly, for them to do that in the first couple of years of racing, the cost, as we touched on, it's not the right time to do that, is it?
You touched on it a little while ago. You said about like a mini O's type thing. What do you say to the argument? And there is the occasional argument pops up. It's not a huge one, but nonetheless, there's a counter argument. So some people say, so what would you say to the argument about we don't necessarily need a national championship for the autos, or arguably even the 65s, and it's better off having a qualifying process, and then there's like one weekend where it counts. Now there's big arguments for that, because some people say, well, it's unfair if you have a crap weekend as a kid. You might be the best rider in the year. It all goes wrong that weekend, and
being honest with you, Jeff, you're probably touching on 2 or 3 years' time. It's a discussion the ACU and we're having. We're keen to get the ACU to start to develop grassroots again, and then perhaps back to our time, where you have centres and you have area qualifying coming through to a finals. But I think we're probably 3 years away from that, I would say, from an ACU point of view.
Wow. I'd say, I say wow, because that wasn't the answer that I was expecting. Fair play. I mean, the fact that it's, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I don't know. For some reason, I thought you would just dismiss that altogether.
No, because for us, it's about the sport, isn't it? It doesn't matter how much we dislike people, as long as we're going racing. I think we all want the same thing. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And for me, and probably for us, we can remember it back in the 80s when there was, so much going on, and like to qualify for the British, you had to do the clubmans and things like that. And there's a few ideas being floated, and perhaps the ACU Motocross Committee are looking at things a bit differently and a bit more positively, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I think they're going to get out there and do some work to find clubs, and if we could end up with 4 or 5 different centres that end up at the end of the year with, like you say, a final or even a 3-round, championship for the clubman, for the auto, for something like that, just so you've got that stepping stone, that progress.
Yeah. Great. Listen, somebody's just put this up, and I'd agree with this, and I know you speak to Stuart quite a lot, and John, I'll get your opinion on this as well. So Stu's doing this stuff up there, in Scotland. So what, both of you watch, and Stuart, if you are watching, carry on the good work up there in Scotland. You are doing a great job. What's your take on it being a British Championship? Now, Gareth, I know you've sort of thought, again, where people ride and where they're from, the logistics of traveling around. But to make it an all-out British Championship, we do have to basically cover most of the UK, don't we, to make it fair? Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with it, because for me, we need to go to Scotland. And you touch on Stuart, I push the Scottish ACU to take Stuart on, because he will do a mega job, and he is doing a mega job. But for next year, I want Stuart to be running the Scottish rounds. And I'm saying rounds because in my head, I think the tracks available in Scotland are fantastic. And I think we should have 2 in Scotland.
Yeah.
For me,
John, because I mean, John, obviously you're a team that's based down south, but do you see the value in spreading, and going to, doesn't matter where we go as long as we're going to quality tracks? Is that your take on it?
Well, initially I'd like 11 rounds at Calendar Heights. Back inside out. But no, I'm joking. Yeah, I've been to Scotland many times with Gareth's Championship. We've done 3 or 4 tracks up there, and I've been up there myself, training and testing and stuff like that with the boys. And again, I speak to Stuart quite regularly with bike stuff and riding stuff, and he's been trying to get us to go up and do the last few rounds of the Scottish this year, which just didn't happen. But yeah, great. I've travelled. I don't mind driving here, there, everywhere. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I know, obviously, Gareth probably does get stick from people down south travelling to Desert Martin or Scotland or something like that. But when you actually do travel for a great track, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. It really doesn't matter. Like I've been to Northern Ireland many times, and every time I go there, it's we got to get this and do that and travel here. But them guys have to do it every week. every single week to come and race here. So
Yeah.
he has to get on and go there. And it's not like you turn up there and you're riding around a coned field. It's amazing. It's a great track. And the same when you go to Scotland with, Dunsbrythe does a great job at that track. I've been to, Scott Gardner's track at Doon. That's a really good track. Lucas, we went there a couple of years back with Gareth, and again, great track. So there's definitely loads of tracks up there. Even Stu's own track, Cooper Angus, that's a great track. So yeah, there's plenty of scope up there to have some good tracks, and obviously traveling there, you do drive past a lot of good tracks on the way.
Yeah. Gareth, and there's a question for you, Gareth. Are you, as well as doing this series, and you've got to work with the ACU clubs, or that you haven't got to, but that's the way you want to do it, and that's the structure of the ACU, and that's how it used to work in the past, and a good club will, help them build up, they can run a better national event. Are you also actively still looking for new venues and stuff? Because down the years, you've definitely looked at a few. Maybe the timing wasn't right, etc. for some of them. You had that one at Chepstow for a little while there that you was looking into, but obviously the Welsh Assembly and all that at the time, it just didn't quite work out. Are you actively looking for new venues, or are you just going to rely on clubs to use?
We definitely want to change. I think the problem with the national championships, the British Championship, we're probably reliant on 6 or 8 tracks, and we need to change. I've vented my frustration that we've got Ryder, which is they own the land, they're an ACU stalwart club, and it's always been blanked. And it's like, for me, there are lots of new tracks coming on board. You can see them. I'm quite happy to go there, because now with the ACU, you don't have to be a club. I think those days are gone. I think, you can become a promoter. And I think that would be good. I think we can bring, we need to go to around Manchester. We're looking at venues there.
Yeah.
We need to mix it up. It's a bit like John said, realistically, I could have done a championship all in the south and the southwest on very good tracks, but that might suit Larry Kessel, but it won't suit Kyle McNichol, will it? So, the British Championship needs to travel. So ultimately next year, I would like to have 2 in Scotland, and then sort of work our way down through the country. That we've got a 10-round series, and it's like it is spread over the UK.
Yeah, and then build on the infrastructure at the venues, because I'm guessing, at Raider, it doesn't, like you said, it's been overlooked, and I guess that's because of the access to have a bigger event there with the British Championships and whatever. But maybe for the youth only, it will work, and then you can develop the venue, more parking, more infrastructure, and get public in and out. I guess is that the long-term plan, I suppose, John. Because from your point of view, you've been a team manager. You obviously, when you was wrenching for Embo's team, and and obviously big trucks and all that kind of stuff. Now you're running a youth team, but it's still very obviously really professional, like a pro team. But you're now looking at it in a different approach with the setup and the way you come. That you now come in smaller vans, and you got those cool inflatable setups and whatever. So I guess you don't need the infrastructure of having these massive vehicles in and out. And that changes the perspective.
Yeah, it does. And, lots of teams have gone that way with smaller trucks and stuff like that. But, I wish they hadn't. I wish everybody had bigger trucks. I wish everybody had more, I wish we had a massive truck. I wish we had, more people, more staff, more everything to do more, I preferred the championship even before I started in 06, 05. Before then it was big, and it sort of got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and people decided that they could do the same out of an easy up, which I totally see where they're coming from. But I like the fact that tracks have developed a bit more, because you had Housestead with their Wakes contract. It was their baby, and then you've got the Blacksall track, which and I think that's great that clubs, and I think that's what we need more. Like what Gareth is saying, I think the clubs, with help from federations, need to have their own venues. I think they have their own baby that pride in putting forward to our national championship, and they've worked there all year, like the Sig Cup Club of Canada Heights, you know, new fences, painting, work parties, you know, with their club, their district club members put on hours and hours and hours of work for that first round that used to be at Canada Heights. And it's amazing. You know, you turn up Blacksall now and it's gravel driving all the way. You know, they've got a decent, very good base of a track. And I think we need more of those tracks. You know, we need more of them tracks where the club that Gareth deals with to run those events takes pride in their track and wants to invite the championship or host the championship with the big regatta of everybody turning up from all angles of the world or country or world or whatever, rather than just the guy from 3 miles away in his van, which is still great. But that guy would then love to go to that track. Yeah. I know guys in Ireland love to go to Desert Line. You know, guys in Eastern Centre love to race at Ling, love to race at Blacksall. You know, my centre, they love to go to Canada Heights. You know, they're not so keen to go to Broad Farm or Whitnapick or something like that. You know, it's not as prestigious.
Yeah.
But I think that comes back to us in some respects. If we can make the series for a new club, a new promoter, interesting, and they don't see that they're gambling to lose a load of money, that they can actually use the series and a round as a promotion for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
When we did Pond Trialers, we knew we were never going to make any money out of the British Championship, but we knew the prestige of running that would bring the AMCA clubs, would bring the schoolboy clubs to rent the track.
Sure.
And all you do, you know, we want golf courses. If you look at Justin's is beautiful.
So why, Gareth? Why did you know you wasn't going to make any money? Just because what? Because of where it is, so the footfall of spectators coming out, or what?
Prize money, costs. You know, the expectation of what you want to deliver. You know, with rules and regulations in place, killed it. You know, and it has made it difficult. It's like if we think back to when we were riding. You didn't pay a marshal, you know, it was mum, dad, or a volunteer or your mate. You know, now every marshal, and I get that because it's expensive, but at some point we've all got to sort of step back and look at it and think, you know, this now needs to be a business, you know, and I don't think anyone's in it to fill their pockets. Let's be honest. I don't think if we're in the wrong business, if any of us are doing that, I think that we don't want to keep reinvesting our own money every year. You know, I've done what John's done and I loved it, you know, but I traveled around the world with Hack for 1 year and spent 127 grand. We finished 28th. We had a blast, but you know, that's the nature of motocross people, isn't it? You know, we're chasing that next dream.
Very much. So listen, before I get onto this, I'm gonna go in with a big hard-hitting question. It's not hard-hitting, making it sound like I'm bloody Jeremy Vine or something. What am I talking about? Keep the questions coming in, by the way. Darren Roberts, I'm going to bring your question up on screen in a minute. Clive Huntley, I've seen your response there as well. We'll bring that up in a minute. But before we do that then, okay. Always a difficult one to answer, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to limit it down and make it even more difficult. You've got to choose sort of the one fundamental thing. This is for both of you, obviously, and you can, whoever wants to go first, that you see that we as a sport need to do, that we absolutely need to do to grow it. Now, I know there's a list of things we can do, but starting with, if you had to list them numerically, what would be the first thing that you'd try and address to get more, just to grow the sport, not more people into it, more viewers, whatever? What would it be? Who wants to go first?
John.
Go on, John. What would you do from a team perspective? You know, you're out there, you're racing, you got sponsors on there. So what would you do?
Shall I go?
Yeah, go on.
So for me, personally, the passion is inside what I do. I know it is for John, Cab Screen guy, everyone you speak to, world champion Dave Thorpe. We don't portray our passion professionally enough. to bring people in from the outside of our sport. We're very closed to opening the door. So for me, you know, I need John, I need the cab screens, I need the Revos, I need the Milwaukees to sort of be proud of what we do and put it out there. We spend millions of pounds as in teams and into the economy, but we're not proud of ourselves. We're very negative to our sport, you know, and that's very much from the top of our sport to the bottom. You know, I think it's great. Where can you go with a family, have a weekend away, meet friends? If you think about us three sat here, what have we done? It's always about family. Bob Lewis, you think about the Lewis family, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and we don't push that out there enough. You know, we fall out. We'll all fall out with one another. I'm sure John and me will fall out sometime this year, but we will all go back racing together and we will all have that same passion. But we never seem to get it out, do we?
So maybe that's the answer then. So the passion's there. So how do we portray that then? What do you think is the best way as a medium to get? You know, are we focusing too much on the sport, as in what actually happens on the track, the results, and not enough on the character and vibe of the sport? Is that where we're going wrong?
I think so. You know, like I say, I think if you look at the top of it to the bottom, we're negative about everything. You know, we can't go racing here because we're noisy. We can't do this because of PA. You know, but our sport is about being noisy. It's about being dirty, but it's also about a group of people going into a field to have some fun. Yeah.
So it's maybe this. Yeah. So what would you say to that then, John? So you reckon that, you know, is there an argument in that, in the fact that yes, we've got to highlight, and particularly the kids, you know, because ultimately you want the pros to be the professional role models and whatever. But at the same time, you know, if we was getting, for example, more kids doing well, doing good stories, you know, and we've seen a few riders over the years, quite a few actually, appear on the local news with a little news story, or they're doing well and doing that. That's always seems to be really good when it happens, but we don't seem to sort of get the message across, do we, that motocross really is a family sport that everybody can enjoy. It's almost like if you don't know any different, you're watching it, are we portraying it that it's too hard to get into, too expensive?
Yeah, I think it needs to be or try to be published a little bit more nationally, you know, a bit more to people that aren't involved in the sport. It needs to be made a little bit more aware of how easy it is. It's probably the easiest sport to get into. I mean, you know, you can buy an electric bike now to start on and go and have a go quietly down your local woods. So it's not difficult to get into. It needs to be portrayed a little bit more that it's a good thing to do rather than an annoying thing to do that a lot of people do, you know, our protesters think. I also, like, as Gareth touched on at the end, the positivity of everybody around the sport who's even involved in the sport, you know, rather than it being, we don't want to do this or we can't do that, or, you know, let's just, you know, like, bit more positive about actual going racing, even before COVID and before something else. You know, yeah, we've got a choice of championships to do, a choice of places to go and ride, you know, a bit more positive thinking as to let's, you know, and dedication, you know, dedication to a championship, not fleeing between here and, oh no, we're not going to do that series, we're going to do that series, and we're not going to do there because it clashes with a trip to Dunkirk or whatever, you know. Like, it used to be, if you were committed to a championship, you had to have your leg falling off because if you didn't turn up to a round, not because little Johnny didn't want to go because it was his mate's birthday. Like, you know, when you committed to a championship, you had to go to a championship. And I think that, you know, the commitment side and the positivity side of going racing and just bringing everything together, it just needs to be a little bit higher.
Yeah. You know, and just coming back, it's like us with the girls, you know, people have been quite negative about that. But
well, there you go. Look, perfect timing. You might have seen the comment, Gareth, and I mentioned I'd bring his comment up. There you go, Darren Roberts. Why is it so expensive for the girls to do the whole championship? There you go. If they want to do more than just the 3 rounds, your floor, Gareth. There you go.
So with the girls, it's quite exciting because we were asked to do a girls' championship, but some of the girls actually want to have a go against the boys. So,
right.
We can't do a registration for a boy and then do a deal for a girl to do 2, because it's like, it's seen as they're taking a space. For me, and the argument has been in this office from some of the ladies in the office, let's put them all together because the girls can be as good as the guys. And I get that, but it's that same thing. We're learning. So, the girls need to come to us and say, we want to do this. We want to do 8 rounds, but it's that same thing. We're opening the door this year with the experiment to see what happens. We were only doing 1 girls class. Now we're doing the 85s as well as the open, and I look at it and I think it's fantastic because, girls in the sport, they've never really been taken seriously, have they? So, when you look at it,
that goes to what we're saying about the way how we market and package the sport as a family sport. I really think now, more than ever. I mean, there should never been a bad time to have more girls racing, but more than ever, if we ever really want to push on now, getting more girls to ride the sport is just either way you look at it, a positive spin, and if we get more girls riding and get more news stories out to the mainstream media about girls riding and whatever, surely that's going to help the sport.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing with the girls is mainstream media will pick up on the girls more than
yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I think for the whole sport that will be a positive, but whether we get it right year 1,
there is only one. Yeah, as you said, it has to start somewhere. It has to start with something, doesn't it? It can't go straight in and go, there's 8 rounds, it's the same price, it's this cost, it's this, It has to start somewhere, and it's going to have to start with, like I mentioned a minute ago, with the positivity and the dedication to a progress. It's not just, here we go, we're going to run the GP, the World Championship. It's take a process. It's got to take backing and dedication and people joining up from the very beginning for it to get off the ground. Otherwise it will just.
I agree with that, John, completely. Okay, so look, while we got that on their subject, then cost, Gareth. Again, you can. I'm not. Well, you're on it for this reason to talk about things like this. So, Leah Roberts has said, 8 rounds, but not for nearly 400 quid. But then, okay, I'm gonna dive in on this one. National championship. So this is the difference, isn't it? So if you're running your local race, obviously you expect it to be a little bit cheaper, but obviously, is this another case of where you have to? It has to be that cost, otherwise you simply can't run, and you're running at a loss. Gareth, that's
well, not even us. It's like for us, we need to get. We're running out of clubs. The clubs are disappearing. If you look at Canada Rights, which is a prime example, can you see any young people in that club? You can't. To run a British Championship, you need ballpark at a guess 40 grand. We get, if we're lucky, 1,000 spectators, 1,300 spectators at a round. Do the maths; it doesn't add up. So we're looking at live streaming. We're looking at other ways. It'd be great to do an entry for 55 quid, but not being cheeky, back in 1996 when I was falling off a Yamaha, I was paying that much to go and race anyway.
But you kind of hit on this earlier on. I guess that's how much the landscape's changed. Health and safety, all these other things you have to bring in now. Like you said, back then there were volunteer marshals. Now you got a job. If you're asking volunteer marshals, you'll have a job to line. Is that where obviously everything's just been hiked up on the cost?
But even the medical side of it, if you look at the medical side of it, we as a sport should not impact on the NHS. I'm a great believer that, each round should have blue light, to hospital, that coverage. But now we've got to have 2 paramedics. You've got to have the infrastructure on the ground to run the event. We can do fag packet events and we can get away with it. But what happens if little Johnny gets killed? I don't want that on my conscience. And, I get where people are. I appreciate it's expensive, but we do this sport. We know it's expensive.
Yeah.
John and myself will be going to Greece with a team. And my company will invest in the juniors because we have for the last 3 years.
Yeah. We'll get onto that in a minute. We'll get onto it. While we're on about cost, John, running a team costs. All three of us here have all done that at some point, still actively do it. So obviously for people that are not watching, is it getting harder? How have you found, for example, preparations for 2021? Have you found it more difficult with sponsors and talking to people because of the uncertainty over COVID and Brexit? Has it become more difficult trying to get a team organised for next year?
Yeah, it has become more difficult, but we're at a different level to some other people. I'm doing a lot of work. My brother's doing a lot of work. We're not. The money that the time that we spend doing the team stuff, we don't get paid for. So I'm trying to do work, to pay my bills and stuff, doing my normal job. Running a team was an idea that we had because we had a good group of people around us, and it came together. Last year was, we felt quite good with the amount of support that we got in our very first year. Obviously, both been involved in the sport and for a number of years, so we had some good people come on board. Next year, we've had some people say that they possibly can't help. Some people have said that yes, they'd love to help. Other new people have come on board that we'd like to help. But the difference between our level of team at the moment, being a youth team, is we don't have staff. Me and Dan are the only staff, so we haven't got truck driver, mechanics, other than ourselves. We haven't got riders' wages to pay, bonus money to pay. So it's a little bit easier for us to draw in. The product sponsor side of it is okay. We can draw in some like financial sponsors. Although we're not looking for your 15, 20, 30 grands that you need to run adult British Championship teams that look to have riders competing at the front, because those guys have to be paid. As we all know, those guys, you can't compete in the top 10 of the British Championship, top 5 of the British Championship without it taking over your life, with riding and training and eating and diet and trainers, and everything comes at a cost, and these guys do put into themselves as much as they possibly can to compete, because they other people are doing it. You can't fall on that. So for me, it's and for us, it's hard. It's hard because we're at the level that we're at, and we're getting sponsorship at the level. But yeah, I think that people are going to struggle a lot more. Riders are gonna possibly be paid less, or there's going to be less of them getting bigger paychecks. I don't know.
So it's all interesting stuff. Before we get onto the Worlds, because I want to do that, just a few more questions. We'll try and keep it under an hour because you guys are busy and whatever. But who knows? We might get so into it. More questions might come in. So keep coming them in. Get the questions coming in. Expectations, right? Here's one for both of you. Then, how do you manage the expectations? John, you might as well pick up first on this. From a team perspective, how do you manage the expectations of a rider? I'd argue even more importantly at the stage they're at, 80, small wheel 85, 6500, a parent's expectation. How do you manage that? Have you got to sit them down and say, look, hold on, we're doing too good a job sometimes as an industry, making it look better than what it is, and sort of sit them down, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll and all that. Just have you ever got to slow parents and riders down and go, just hold on a minute. It's you're not gonna earn a living from it aged 11 in the UK. But in another country, in America, we all heard of some young talent gets signed up and they are literally on financial contracts, maybe not to the kids, but it goes to the parents to fund their racing. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, it's every person's dream, otherwise the kids wouldn't be going to the races if the parent didn't have that drive and that dream, because we all know how hard it is sometimes when the tough gets going, and you need the full backing and the full support from the parents. But yeah, I've come across lots of different types, and they all, the best ones is when they realize that a little bit about what you're putting together and what you're trying to do, and they take everything on board, and they give you a bit more freedom as to what you expect from them. I mean, we're only trying to help them on their way. We're at this stage in the next 5 years, possibly potentially never gonna be a world championship winning Grand Prix factory team. Although I would love to at some point in the next 10 years or whatever. It'd be amazing. I know, just thinking.
No, honestly, I tell you what, it was personal. I asked you that because I genuinely, I wanted to hear your opinion on it as well, just to think if I, actually see if I'm getting it right or wrong. Thought you might have some new ideas, whatever I could steal from you there, John. But it's a big thing. And Gareth, what about you? Like obviously you got expectations of a series of what people want. So how do you, as again, it kind of reverts back a little bit to what we touched on at the beginning. Is it a case of like you've got to put the blinkers on and just do it your way, or are you, as you're getting older, trying to be a bit more transparent as in what you're doing and talking to people a bit more and making them realize that we're all in this together?
I think people's view of me from the outside, and John could be one of those until we did the World Championship together, he's a bit of a dickhead, let's be honest. But
words in your mouth, John.
Whether it was when you were racing, because we start out racing, don't we, and we always want to win, and then for me, I obviously was never going to achieve that, so I did what John did, and we had some success with like Prattley, with Hucks, but you're always pushing that window to be better than someone else, and for me, I've chased the British Championship, like I say, for a good 15, 20 years, because I want it to be the best championship in the world. Now I've got it. Yeah, I'm a bit, nervous about how I'm going to achieve that. But
well, here we go. Andy Kirkham, this is a good question. I think, when you can answer. Yeah. Okay, so, Jeff, how is Gareth going to do things different to when you and Matt did at the MCF? Well, hold on. Let me first and foremost, I was nothing to do with that. I was just a commentator. So that's Andy. Let's get that straight. I wasn't involved with the organising or running of the Red Bull Pro Nationals. That was very much Matt Bates. So, but the family thing was a thing. Obviously Matt worked hard at trying to get it more of a sort of family day out. So there's Andy's question there. Are you thinking something on the similar lines without what?
I think so. Like I said, I think for us, we're all coming out of COVID. It's quite a change for the British Championship, full stop. So I think this year is going to be that open book idea. We've got a variety of rounds with different classes, different amounts of racing. So don't really judge us on 21. I think you need to judge us on 23. Because, like I say, I think this year we're going to be all fighting to do what we want to do. And the changes we need to make are a little bit difficult because we've got some passionate people above us that perhaps don't want the changes.
You see it a bit like, again, a good analogy with this in sport is a football team.
Yeah.
When a new manager comes in, and never gets enough time, but he's got his ideas and different ways of doing different back staff, different philosophies. And that's basically how you're looking at it. It's just like, you're not going to change it instantly overnight, but you've got a long-term goal. And what you're saying is like, give us a good 3-4 years. And, and if we're not somewhere near the mark by then then
we're out of there, basically.
Yeah.
You know, our plan, you know, both of you, I've spoken to you about what you want to see, you know, and we're very open to people giving us feedback. You know, we want, you know, because 1,000 people's ideas are better than one person's ideas, because it could be something that'll just stand out. You know, for me, I want to get to, I'm quite passionate about the Wednesday evening idea, because I've seen what Ryder is, I've seen what you're doing, but you know, if you look at Speedway, it's in the evening, and Speedway gets good audiences. You know, and things just need. We're going to have to try things to be different to get
exactly that, and that's it. You know, our little event, you know, it's obviously grown to be, you know, quite popular. Exactly that. You know, we just looked at it and thought, well, we don't want to be in competition with other clubs. They're no nationals. Clubs have their club championships. So where are we going to fit? For us, a little small independent club, it was just, you know, it's like, well, let's not make it more complicated and run on a weekend when there's just go for a little event on a Wednesday in the summer school holidays, and it seemingly
it's that Western thing of, we need to get to a different audience, you know. So whether we can get into Goodwood, whether we could get into the Royal Welsh Showground, which maybe you rode there once, Jeff. Was all that before your before our time?
That was just before my time. Yeah.
You know, and
I'm not show pony, Gareth. Christ.
Yeah, but the Royal Welsh was that track was fantastic. You speak to like the old guys, Harvey and Matt,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, you know, put that with the Royal Welsh show where they get 150,000 people. You know, we've got a massive crowd without doing any work, haven't we?
Yeah, and that's what needs to happen. You know, obviously, like with Matt, what Matt done with the arena cross, it brings new people to the sport. But then that's why we need the sport get pushing on in motocross, because obviously you can't just start in arena cross. It's the same with an AMA. You know, America's a massive country, got more land, more places to ride, all that, whatever. But you know, when they introduced Supercross in the early 70s, that's when it all started to boom, because people saw it and thought, this is brilliant, I've got to ride a dirt bike. But you don't start in a stadium, you have to start outdoors. So that's what we need to do.
Last round of the Dutch Championship every year is at Zwaartecross.
Amazing.
Yeah, like hundreds of thousands of people there for a festival, but they can watch a motocross race, and you know, I'm sure Jeffrey Hurling's fan base went triple when he went and won his first Zwaartecross race. You know,
Gareth, could you get around at Glastonbury? It's just that I always struggle. Oh, he's gone off air. Damn, it's a shame that, because I always struggle to get a ticket at Glastonbury. I go on that roster thing, John, but I've only been lucky once. So if we can get him to do a round,
I'm sure
Glastonbury. He missed all that. Let's bring him back. Gareth, you went off air then, but I was just saying, can you get around at Glastonbury Festival? It's just because I struggle to get tickets.
It would be fantastic, but will there be a Glastonbury? This is what we're. You know, but it's like I've gone on about doing it on the beach at Weston. You know, we need to go where the people are, don't we? And we need to be creative.
I think now more than ever, that definitely needs to be the case. So let's move on to what the excitement thing about the junior worlds and their importance of it. You know, Gareth, I know this is close to your heart. So, you know, as a sort of thing to drive our sport forward, clearly both of you believe, or it's important that we are putting a team into that can compete, because basically, hopefully, that is more positive media that will drive more young kids to wanting to do it.
I think it's not. We've got talent in our country. John and myself see it every weekend, and they're not helped. You know, John's doing what as teams they help, but as federations we don't help them. You know, we do get some support from the ACU, but you know, we need to take Ollie to junior worlds. We need to develop them. You know, for me, I need to be able to sit back in 10 years' time and say, you know, Charlie Heyman did our series. We took him to world championships. You know, John's got a team now with some good little riders that hopefully we can progress all the way through. You know, and perhaps take some of them to Greece next year. but with the idea that it's 2 or 3 years' time that we're going to develop it into, potentially podiuming for the Worlds.
So I know it's a big thing for you. So now you've got arguably, how will I put it? Well, you're kind of foot in the door a bit more, basically, either way you look at it with the ACU. Before you just, I say just was doing the BYC, but with the adults as well. Have you already had more in-depth conversations with the ACU about trying to find better ways for them to support what you do? Because I'm not pulling the ACU out here and whatever. And I know it's all about budgets and stuff like that, but it can also be frustrating as a British motocross fan when you see some of the effort, and I don't know how many members they get or budgets, whatever, but when you see some of the effort, like I've said it before, like the French Federation or the Portuguese and Spanish, and whatever, and it just seems like they seem to get like more help from the federation and just from the whole grassroots spectrum of other people that race, going, yeah, we're going to get behind our top guys. And
but I think that's a bit of a fault of our country, to be honest, isn't it? It's like, for us, the ACU puts money in,
That's what I mean. I know they do. I'm not.
And I know there's a willingness to do stuff, but if you speak to the Dutch guys or the French guys, they're getting support from the government as well. Whereas our sport, because we're so splintered, if you go to government and ask for help, they ain't going to help you because they don't know what federation are you. Even though the ACU is the governing body,
right?
They just look at it. There's AMCA, there's NORA, there's so many splits that it's never going to work. And that's my frustration. We've got to fund it ourselves, basically.
I mean, it's so difficult to promote our sport? Are we just being too blinkered to the fact that we're just buggered in the UK because it's all about bloody football and cricket?
No, I disagree with that totally. I've been through it from the 80s, the 90s, the ups and downs, and we're probably going to have 5 good years with our sport, but we need to develop ourselves outside of our niche, and that, and I can't do that on my own. If I look at what John's doing, John's turned up 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Now John's got one of the best teams in the paddock. You look at cab screens, the guys have been investing for 10 years. Now they've got like a proper Yamaha deal. So there's people willing to invest in the sport, invest their own money in the sport. But we keep, somehow like I say, it's back to this negativity around us instead of being positive about what we do.
Yeah. I mean, but it's obviously difficult, to keep pushing on, but this seems to be a positive step forward. John, your take on the Junior World title and all that kind of stuff and the EMX. I mean, are you as a team, do you look as when you're looking for potential riders, is that a thought process that goes through your head? You're looking for a rider. Obviously, you want a rider to be as good as you can, but do you look at it and think, right, we're going to go with him because potentially he has more potential, and dare I say it, the infrastructure around him, family, commitment, finances, does that all play a factor in the kind of riders that you, or is it just go, or do you just sometimes look at a rider and go, I don't care his background or whatever, look how fast he is,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's great. We've all got, in all the teams that are out there, we've all got riders on our teams that we back. We back all our riders. We see something in all the riders that we want to try and help excel. If they have the dream to go and race abroad, some people it can happen.
It's just
various reasons. And yeah, sure, that's attractive for us. If we have a rider that wants to go and do that, that's great. That's going to put that rider on in all he's got that experience to go and ride abroad and compete at that level. When he comes back and races the British Championship in, after time of being out and about here, there and everywhere, gaining experience, for sure it improves the level of the rider.
Yeah.
With John's team, if you look at Kyle McNichol, I look at that as a family, because the family are behind that, the boy, investing in him, working with him, because we can all see a talent in Kyle, and I took him to Junior Worlds, and he wasn't the top runner, but the work ethic, the mentality of wanting to improve and wanting to learn, that's what you look for,
Yeah, and that was a few years ago now, and he's up the game even more. He's still pushing that same dream. He's still working hard, striving to be better and better and better. And for us, you can't ask any more from someone than giving absolutely everything that they can do. And I think that any rider that wants to put that amount of effort and work in should be praised and rewarded in having the opportunity to go places.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a comment here from Tino.
Yeah.
Joel's, we all know Tino, and we know Joel. So he's moved on and has now gone to a foreign team. I don't think this is Tino having a just straight up pop at anybody here or the AC or anything like that, but just basically highlighting, there about what we've touched on. Now the other federations seem to have more infrastructure. But Gareth, you kind of put that together. You got John in as a mechanic to overview everything. I don't know what you're doing with trainers. I guess you're still going to do with Richard and Ash. I don't. Are you doing
a little bit with Richard and Ash, but for me, the trainers as a group need to come together. They're very much like racers, aren't they? They're very divided, because Justin does a good job. For me, Lee Denham does a good job. John's volunteered his services because we blagged him in Italy when he was there last time, and he got involved with the guys, and he could sort of pick up on the vibe and the passion. Everyone slags Margaret off, but Margaret spent 3 days making sandwiches to feed everyone, and sweat her tits off, basically.
Well, basically, she's probably made the wrong flavour sandwiches. That's the first.
Yeah. Well, not the way some of them, but from a trainer point of view, I fully agree with Tino. What I want is what the Dutch have, which is, or the French. We've got the kids being educated, being trained to be professional sports people, and having access to everything. Like the Welsh over here, we can go to the Welsh, university and use all the facilities and get involved. But that's Wales. That's not UK led, and it's like
just not at the minute, obviously. Yeah. No, listen. It's great. It's been great talking tonight, because I think the clear message that you got across, Gareth, more than anything, is like how you need a bit of time, and it is slightly different, isn't it? Like now, you've had a good stab at the BYC for long enough, but it's always kind of stood on its own. And to be honest, standing on its own, I think you probably took it to about as with just youth only, about as far as you probably could.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation before. You felt like you need to move on. Now, obviously, being in control and making decisions on both the adult and youth, is you've got a real foothold and a foundation to build on. But it's exactly that, isn't it? It's going to take a few years, but all these things you're saying.
We're going to make, let's be honest, it's very experimental next year, so there's going to be lots of mistakes and there's going to be a bit of negativity. But, I need people to be honest and come to us and speak with us and not slag us off. Come and have a conversation, give us your ideas. I can't build this as one person, because it impacts on the entire country. So it's like, for me, let's get together, let's have our plan for 3 to 5 years, and let's be better than everyone else. Let's be the European AMA.
Well, that's what Steve's put up here. Obviously, Steve from the ACU, pointing out, and as which we also, somebody else pointed this question up earlier on, and we've had this question many times about the number of federations and all that, and it has diluted it. And of course, that would be ideal if we were back to one federation. Yet at the same time, that's not going to happen anytime soon, is it? So we've almost got to embrace that. Not going to go back to one federation anytime soon. And try and do the best we Oh, but Steve's
the
got a
same.
very valid point. It is a totally valid point. If there was just all in, everybody in the UK racing from one federation, but unfortunately, that's not where we're at the minute. So I guess we kind of deal with it and do the best we can until something major happens, and if it ever goes back to being just one federation.
To be fair, if you know the man's popped up there and he's having a bit of a battle, but the willingness to change and do things slightly different now, it'll be interesting to see where things are in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
you know, the focus needs to come back on that, on the club and the grassroots. No disrespect, that's what generates the license income, not you know, 40 riders in MX1.
And I was going to touch on this very quickly. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but Bradley Belgian has said, come on here, you know, and said, what is the qualifying criteria? Obviously, so I guess you are selecting the team. The bottom line is they have to ride and race in the UK.
Correct.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So there you go. Brad, there you go. So, you know, so basically to be on the Team GB, you have to be racing the BYC. That's the first criteria. Yeah. And then you obviously just select riders on so you're not doing it like wherever you finish the championship. Obviously top riders will, because more often than not, you have to choose the team before the series is over, isn't it? Which doesn't make it any easier.
For us, we'll pick in the first couple of months, because it's like back to what Tino wants. We now want to develop training with the riders. You know, I need to get them engaged with John, hopefully, because we're not going to Greece to come second. We're going to Greece with the intention that we want to win.
Yeah.
You know, and Italy for us, I think we had some hope, but the expectation when we finished, and then we finished third and we missed out on second by a point, I think it was, John, wasn't it? Yeah. So it was like we were happy, but we were thinking, you know, one more position we'd have had second. You know, and it's like that's what needs to happen. Is like we've got to get that mindset. We're going there to win. You don't see the Americans going there to finish second, do you?
No, I don't think I've ever seen an American team go there to finish second.
Yeah.
Even the ones and the Motocross of Nations the last few years, when they know they're not going to win, they still think they're going to.
Yeah.
It's that mentality, though, I guess, isn't it? Yeah.
We have to go to the Junior World Championship with our most solid team from the UK. You know, like if we win, it has to be the most solid team, and it has to be the organisation from Gareth, has to be input from myself and guys like Ash, RMJ, Justin, Lee, everybody that works with our top youth runners have to be involved, and even, you know, like ACU, yes, we go in there representing them guys, but if other federations want riders in the UK to be the best, then everybody has to come together for an event like when guys go to race GPs, when guys go to race European Championships, when they go and race Junior World Cups. It's all, you know, we're representing the country as a whole. You know, like every federation that's had a Grand Prix rider come and ride at their race is very quick to say, oh, we've got a GP rider coming to race at our championship or coming to race at our event or something like that. But if they don't want to help that process by saying, oh no, we're not going to support that, or we're not going to help them, we're not going to do that because they're going there to support the ACU, then it's very, like, as I said, it's narrow-minded as to you know, as to how we're going to get the riders to get to those events and to get them, you know, further on.
You know, exactly. But for me, the opportunity to represent your country, to wear a shirt that's representing Great Britain, you know, that should be the most fundamental part of it. You know, and to do your best for your team.
No matter the federation is supporting that event or the governing body or whatever. For those type of international events, everybody in the UK as a whole has to come together.
Yep.
I've got to say, I've handled COVID all right. I might have had it or anything. The whole lockdown thing being pretty positive. And then the news the other day, you know, the whole, we're getting into Christmas, and then all the U-turn again, tier 4 and all that, not that I'm in it and all that. And I just think, it actually, for the first time, really kind of like, oh, God, it's really quite depressing. My key is don't watch the news, actually. But I've got to say, talking to you two has lifted my spirits, I have to say, about it all. I know we've got tough times ahead, But obviously, you two are still, you know, obviously confident and ready to push on, and we need more of that. So, in that sense, brilliant. I'm gonna end it with this. Actually, we got Baz Barley. Where's he gone? Baz, I've just lost his first post. It's a good way to end the show. There you go, Barley. There you go. I'd agree with that. Yeah. We got to get behind it, keep doing it. And genuinely, Gareth, I wish you all the best with it. I don't think there's anybody, you know, in British Motocross that wants, you know, we know it's a business and there's different federations and all that, but I haven't come across anybody yet since the news come out that you're going to run the British Championship that wants you to fail. You know, Paul Irwin will say, "I want you to succeed." You know, we want.
Yeah, but that's what people. I think people perhaps need to understand that, Jeff. It's like Paul and myself have a conversation. You know, you picked up behind me. We've got the calendar stuck on the wall because it's so frustrating for us to get dates. You know, because we can't clash with this, we can't clash with that. You know, Paul and myself had a conversation, and it's like, you know, we don't want to clash with one another. We want to work together. You know, and I think, you know, Paul's series has come out of Paul's frustration. And it's a good series, and I ain't going to knock Paul. You know,
it's almost the same what happened with Matt and Craig when they started the MCF and all that and the Red Bull Pro Nationals, because out of the frustration. But you know, if everything's going well and all the series are pushing on, I think everybody will be happy. As Bob said before, Bob Buchanan, there's room for it. You know, there are enough people in the UK wanting to race and whatever, but we just on a whole collectively got to get that sport out there more to the mainstream, haven't we?
Yeah, and just for me to finish, anyone who wants to give us ideas, speak to us, you know, we're open.
I'll tell you, Barles is on it. Barles, he's there. He's come again. Look, he's full of ideas. He's on seven lap. That seven's an unusual number. I wonder why seven is his favourite number. Or something.
I used to need 3. That was enough for me.
Yeah. I'll be pulling out on lap 3 on that one. Yeah. Exactly that. This seriously, fellas, it's been a joy talking to you. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show. And Gareth outlining there his plans, whatever. I'm guessing, Gareth, there'll be a lot more press releases coming out, more sponsors to announce, more ideas. Now the actual schedule's going to run for.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting few weeks over Christmas, shall we say?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think we're going to be busy. I
look forward to hearing from that, John. Who have you announced? Where are you at with the team? Just to outline with that, have you announced? Are you in a position to? I think you have announced your riders. So you just want to quickly say you got riding for you in 2021.
Yeah. We've our press release came out the other day, and we've got some great riders. We've got Kyle McNichol, who's going to race in the MX2 Championship at both series, at Gareth Series and at the MX Nationals. We've got a lad that's come out of my local club, which is great for the team and great for the sport. We've got a lad who's going to be unknown called Jamie Wilson, who has come out of our local club and he's joined the team and he's going to race national level motocross next year. So that's awesome for us and for everything. Omar has moved up onto 1.5, so he's staying with the team. Going to race Gareth Series, EMX 125, MX Nationals when they don't clash, because there is some clashes there with the European Championship. We've got Finn Evans. Finn's going to race a Big Wheel 85, and he's going to race the Gareth Series and try to do as many MX Nationals as he can. I think he was also going to do the Bridgestone Championship. We've got Cole McCulloch from Northern Ireland on Small Wheel 85. Again, going to do BYC MX Nationals. And we've got Teddy Merriman, who started with us on a 50 last year. Again, a local club. He's then moving up into a 65. So, yeah, we've got 6 in total. And, we're ready to go.
Bloody hell. We're all going to keep busy then. Just hope lockdown doesn't piss us around then or any COVID. So, I'm sure, Gareth, you've got a contingency in place for that anyway. You would have thought way ahead with that. So hopefully we'll stick to the original dates and we'll all be back at it by then. We'll be having a shot on the arm by then, hopefully, all of us.
Fingers crossed.
I'm nearly an OAP, so, you know, I'm due one anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Listen. Again, thanks for your time, Gareth. We look forward to seeing what updates you got coming out over Christmas. So keep an eye on RHL's social media. It sounds like you've got some good news coming. John, wish you all the best for the team. Get cracking. I know you've got a lot to do. January, February. Got to get those bikes looking trick.
Yeah.
Have a great Christmas, you two. And
you.
I will see you in the new year. And exactly that. Let's stay positive after what has been, quite frankly, a shitty year. Have a great Christmas, guys. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, guys.
There you go. That's Gareth. That's John. And thanks to all you guys for supporting what we're doing at Dirt Hub and Dirty Talk Show. I am going to be coming back over Christmas. It's either going to be on Monday the 28th or what would that be? Wednesday the 30th, if I got that right. What we're going to do, we're going to do a final Dirty Talk Show of the year. I'm not going to announce the guests yet because, quite frankly, I haven't got them lined up yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a quiz. So that's every year. I'm going to do this now. We are going to do the Dirty Talk quiz of the year. Now, admittedly, this year there hasn't been much racing to talk about, but I'm going to get 3 guests on and we're going to have a quiz. Probably get slightly tanked up. I know I will be. It's Christmas after all. And basically pop up, I don't know, 15, 20 questions that you can all join in and answer. We might even do some prize giveaways, etc. So keep an eye out for that. Sometime after Christmas or Boxing Day, we'll say what day we're going to do it and give you enough warning. But we're going to do a Dirty Talk annual quiz every year around Christmas time, starting this year. So hopefully you'll join us for that. Once again, a big shout out to everybody that gets involved with what we do. I think the guys at Bell are still doing this, but I'll just give them a shout out anyway. So there you go. I think they're still doing that. They are doing the you can basically upgrade your crash helmet. Might be a bit late to get one now before Christmas, but you never know. You might be able to do that and trade in your Bell helmet, your old one, and get 20% off for a new one. So there you go. Right, talking of Christmas, I genuinely have got presents to start wrapping now. So I better crack on and do that. I'll see you sometime between Christmas and the New Year with the quiz. Until then, everybody have a great time. Eat loads, drink loads, be merry. Try and share it the best you can with loved ones. Try and make the best of a shit situation with COVID and whatnot. But yeah, really, really try and make it count. And I shall see you to find out how you got on after Christmas. So until then, take care, everybody. Merry Christmas.